Dr. Steve Pieczenik, and this is Steve Talks. Good evening, this is Dr. Pieczenik, and this week we've had quite an interesting series of events. Number one, the DCI, the Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, Mike Pompeo, who was number one at West Point, has agreed with Donald Trump, our president, to make sure that we no longer are going to enter into a regime change in Syria. And I think that's a very, very good decision. I've been lobbying for that for over 10 years because, as many of you know, I went to Syria on behalf of several of our colleagues, and I evaluated the situation then, and I still believe it's true that Bashar Assad and his family will control whatever remains of Syria, and the rest will be cannibalized between the Turks, the Kurds, and Iran. The second issue that's important is to recertify Iran. Every 90 days, the President of the United States has to recertify that Iran complies with the nuclear agreements that we made. I believe very strongly that Iran, although it appears to be a belligerent country, is very important to our national security. And the reason for that is, number one, it is an empire which has existed for well over 1,000 years. And like the Turks, who've existed for 800 years under the Ottoman Empire, the Persian Empire is probably a little bit longer and still remains within the Iranian people. Now, they do not want to go to war. They're not interested in nuclear war. They're not interested in war with Israel, or nor are they interested with war with any Sunni nation. They're very practical. They understand that business is business. They want to receive all the business that they can from Boeing, Airbus, Halliburton, and many of our other gas and oil companies. Thirdly, I'd like to congratulate a young man by the name of Corey Smith, who just received a Darpa grant under the auspices of George Christian, who is head of the Harvard Medical School in genetic engineering. And this Darpa grant relates to genetic engineering CRISPR and the effects that CRISPR might have on radiation and genes. Now, let's get to another point that's important. Sean Spicer, the Speaker for the President of the United States, resigned. He had no other choice. I was not a supporter of Spicer. I'm not a supporter of Priebus. The reason is that I'm not a great believer in political operatives. These are people who've never really created a company, never have created any hard assets for the most part. They've spent most of their life in process and in self-aggrandizement. That is not the basis for having an effective spokesperson at the White House. I think Anthony Scaramucci from Long Island, a young Catholic individual who was accepted to Goldman Sachs and Harvard Law School, will be quite impressive. He is the one who developed Skybridge Capital, which in turn was developing Sky Capital discussions and internships for over 500 asset managers. He was also the owner of Wall Street Weekly and has a lot of the experience that's required to be a spokesperson. Now, for the last point. It's important that Trump not attempt to do a regime change either in North Korea or in any other country. The reason for that is that at present, we are in a very stable situation where our military has maintained their force structures in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and around North Korea. They're not interested in engaging in a kinetic action. Instead, Mattis, McMaster's, Vodal, and many others in the military are interested in maintaining a status quo relationship where no one actor can get out of control. For them to get involved in kinetic action would demand too much resources from the United States and a public will that doesn't exist there anymore. Let me quote to you Lloyd Blankfein from Goldman Sachs. The president of Goldman Sachs once said, "I tried so hard to become a nerd, but I didn't even accomplish that." So on that note, I want to bid you farewell, good night, and good luck. Hi, this is Dr. Steve Pieczenik. This is Steve Talks.